Hi everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today I want to talk about our fantastic new electric sewing table from Echidna. Now, this is an electric height adjustable sewing table that I think is fantastic for any sewing room, and I'm going to run through some of the key features on it and also talk about why you might want a table that you can adjust the height on. So let's have a closer look. You'll see here, this is the table, obviously without a sewing machine on it. So I'm going to run through the construction and just all the key benefits first before we put a couple of machines on there. First of all, you'll notice it's not a terribly big table, and that's really important because sometimes, you know, in your sewing room, you're going to be fairly cramped for room. So adding another big table to your sewing room might be difficult. You'll notice it also has kind of a cutout area here, and this is an adjustable section where we can actually lower that for your normal sewing machine height. So I'm going to show you that with the sewing machine in a few moments. We'll also look across the side here. There is a removable flap that goes on the end here. Just extends the table a little bit further for some of the bigger machines and gives you a bit more workspace. But really useful because, again, it gives you a nice compact table if you're stuck for room. So that's the table surface. It is a really high quality melamine type finish, and it's got a PVC edge. Now that's important because the PVC edges means it's not going to crack and the edges aren't going to give out on you. But all the edges are also rounded, and that's another important thing because the last thing you want on a sewing table is a square corner or you know, sharp corners, because it will tend to grab fabric that might be draping over the table from time to time. So construction of the table is awesome. The unit itself, the frame, is made of a really heavy gauge steel. It's beautifully powder coated. The quality of the steel and the fit and finish when you put it together is excellent. And the best thing about it though is that it has the electric height lift. So if you have a look down here, we've got 4 preset or user set height adjustments here, and it's just a matter of touching a button. Now right now I'm on setting number 2, and I'll just quickly take it to setting number 3, and you'll see that will raise by itself. Obviously I don't have a machine on there, so I'm going to do a few more lifts and ups and downs in a few moments when we've got a machine on there. But it tells you the height it's set at. Right now that's set at 105 centimeters high. And again, if we want to go down to the lower setting, I programmed it on number 1 as the lower setting, and that will take it down to standard desk height, which is about 73 centimeters. And it just tells you where it's at there. Really cool. So we'll come back up to the height that I was working on. Now it's driven by a very powerful DC motor that sits under the table here. In fact, we'll go up one more height there. And that motor is really powerful, as I said. So it will lift up to 50 kilograms of weight on the table, and that's heavier than any domestic machine or household machine will ever be. So it's more than powerful enough to carry whatever weight you want to put on it, and so far as sewing machines go. And it's really easy to use. If you wanted to set a different height, you can actually set it at any height you like. One of the other key features of the electric lift though, is if you inadvertently went to put this table down and you had a chair sitting under there or something as an obstacle, as soon as it senses that obstacle, it will stop and not go any further. So it's not going to damage the table. Likewise, if you were lifting it and it hit something, something that was in the way, it would also stop. So it's a nice safety mechanism. So that's a bit of an idea of how it actually works. So we're going to have now a closer look at when you put a machine on top. So just before we take a look at the machine sitting on the table, I do want to talk about assembly. Now obviously it's a piece of furniture, so it will come in a ready to assemble situation. So no problems, it's very easy to assemble, and we've done a completely different video on exactly what you would need to do to assemble this product when you get it. I do stress though, when it arrives, it's quite a big parcel. It only weighs 38 kilograms, but it's a big box, so it is a 2-person lift for sure. So you will need just someone to help you get that in the house and just, you know, pull it apart and get it assembled. But it won't take you much time at all. It's pretty simple. So let's have a look at the machines in situation. Okay, so we're going to take a look at using a standard sewing machine on the electric table. Now, I mentioned before, we've got this cutout here, which allows us to lower the platform. So in other words, your standard sewing machine could sit on this platform at up to 4 different positions. Obviously, the full height is one of those positions. And we can lower that down to give you more workspace out beside your machine. So let me just have a look at how that works. And we just simply lower it down to the level we want. That's at number 3 level, which is kind of good. And then I can just take my machine, position that in there, nice and close to the edge. And it just gives me a lovely work surface, extra space, should I be doing some quilting or larger projects. And this has a rating of around about 12 kilograms, which is pretty much going to cover most home sewing machines. And if you want to lower the whole unit now, of course, if you're sitting at it, which you probably would be doing when you're sewing, you would probably go down to a lower setting. And you can set that at any height you like. Now that means for many of us, we use different types of chairs. So it doesn't matter what chair you've got, you'll be able to get the perfect sewing height, the right height to work with your back as well. So you're not getting too much, if you do suffer from back pain, you'll understand what I'm saying, but you don't want to get too much back pain when you're sewing. So setting the height for sewing is fantastic. And these days, I know certain people that actually sew standing up. So if you wanted to go to that higher setting, depending on how tall you are, you can set it at any height you want. It's very quiet too. You notice you can't hear it. It's really whisper quiet. If I want to go higher by a little bit, I don't have to use the user set buttons there. I can just take it to whatever height I want. So that's how you might use a sewing machine on the table. Now let's look at a really big machine. So here we are with the Brother Luminaire on the table. Now this is a big machine, of course, and anyone who owns one will know that it's also quite heavy. It's a lot of machine in a Luminaire, and weighs around 25 kilograms. They're about no issue for the table to support that. Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to get this table in when we first saw it was that for embroidery, particularly if you're an avid embroiderer, you're constantly changing thread colors and doing things. And I know myself, there's nothing more frustrating than if you've got a design that's got 20 or 30 colors, just continually getting up, down to do the color changes. It's just so handy to be able to walk past your machine, do the color change and just keep going, because you don't need to sit and babysit a good machine like a Brother. So let's take this up to a higher height, and I'll go up to number 3 there. Now this is much heavier than the little machine, of course. There's no issues with lifting it on this table. And once it gets to the height you want, in fact, I'm going to go a wee bit higher because I'm pretty tall. I'm 6 foot. So the ideal height for me to come up and just use this machine, change the colors, is about here. Obviously, I couldn't possibly sit at this unless I had a bar stool, but it's a great height. I can walk by, do my thread change, walk on. So you can set it to whatever height you want, and the machine will stitch on there absolutely beautifully. These are also a big, wide machine, so they do take up the whole table. But that's the benefit of this table. You don't need a big table in your sewing room or wherever you are sewing to actually use a big machine like this. This will do it nicely. And again, if you want to go back down to a normal height, you can use one of the presets that you've got or set it to any height you like. Sitting, standing, whatever it is you want to do. So pretty simple to use, very good quality table, well backed by Echidna, of course, and just the perfect accompaniment for your sewing room. So hope that explains a few things about the table. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call, hop online, however you want to get in touch with us, we'd be happy to help. So cheers for now.